This movie will cover how to organize your files for optimum performance with After Effects. Programs such as Photoshop, Flash, and iMovie allow you to embed imported files into their project file. The project eats the file and thus becomes bigger in file size. After Effects references or refers to files that you bring into it. It talks about the files without eating them outright. The project itself stays small, usually in the less than 1 megabyte range. But you do have to make sure that the project file can find those files that you had imported. Because After Effects needs these files to reference and thus reconstruct your animation when you save it and then open it up again, you should keep your imported elements all together. Here's how to organize your files on the computer so that After Effects doesn't lose its references. There's a couple of ways to do this. First of all, if you are just randomly bringing in different objects, importing them, and you don't really remember where they all came from, After Effects has a Collect Files feature. So go to File, Collect Files, save the project. I'm going to call this Baby Sona, Baby Project. And I'm going to collect source files for all compositions. And it says that 8 files will be collected and that 3 effects were used. I say collect, I tell it where to save to, and it collects them all. So now if I look on my desktop, I have a Baby Sona Baby Project folder with my footage, and it's organized the same way as my project window was organized. If I look right here, I have all, and within that I have these different picture layer folders. The preferred way of working is to organize your files first and then import them, because generally speaking, at the end of a project, we don't really have the time to collect files. We're rushing to get the delivery. So here's what we do. Here on the desktop, I'm in a logo animation folder within which I've made 3 separate folders: logo elements, logo projects, and logo renders. Elements are any images, audio, QuickTime movies that you're importing into your After Effects project. Into this folder would go the After Effects projects themselves, which end with a .aep. Renders are outputs or exports that are coming out of After Effects for testing or delivery purposes. It's very, very important that you create these folders and move your files to be imported into them before you start working in After Effects. Now you may be wondering why. Let's try it out. So here is what happens when your After Effects project can't find the file that it came from. Color bars happen when imported footage files are moved, deleted, or renamed. Not to worry, if your files become lost or unlinked like this, you can do the following. First, go to the project window and click the binoculars icon on the lower left. At the bottom of the Find window, click on the Find Missing Footage box and say OK, and it finds the first piece of missing footage. Each layer of a Photoshop file is referred to as footage, so if 40 footage files come up missing, it may just be a multi-layered Photoshop file that you're looking for. We can expand this window by hitting the tilde or squiggle key that's located below the escape on the keyboard. And here it tells us what it was originally named and the file path to get there, or the original file path that the computer used to get there. So the next thing we want to do is find that particular footage file, logo design, on the desktop. Now, I remember that I renamed that file, and it lives within logo elements now. So I'm going to tell After Effects to find that file again in my Elements folder. So I go to Logo Elements, I go to Design 2, import as footage, and I click on Open. I choose a layer, and I want it to choose the same layer as is specified here, which is layer named D. And it has this funky resolution, 24 by 37. So that indicates to me that it wasn't at document size, or in other words, the size of the whole image, but rather the file was imported at the size of that individual layer. So I say choose layer, N, and the footage dimension is the layer size. N was just the name of the layer. And I say OK. Now I'm probably going to have to relink each of these by choosing the file and choosing the layer that it corresponds to. This is in alphabetical order for some reason, so we just have to make sure that this value doesn't change when we do the import. That value stayed the same. Double click, choose the file, hit open, choose the corresponding layer, which this time was capital G. Again, layer size, not document size. Document size is kind of like animating a tiny letter on a giant pane of glass. So it's sort of unwieldy. That value didn't change. Good. And so on. Now, in case if you accidentally replaced it with the wrong file, you can right-click or control-click on the image and go to Replace Footage File. And choose it again, and this time I'm going to choose letter D. There, that looks much better. That was a long and tedious process to find each and every one of those letters. So for best results, create the file folder organization method described earlier. Move your files into those folders. After you've put your elements into the Elements folder, only then should you create your After Effects project and save it to the Project folder. This will pretty much ensure that After Effects won't lose your files and replace them with a sea of color bars.